Hi, Deanna.
Hi.
So we're here with a critique of Ellissa's interview. So I will let her take the lead here.
During the interview, I just assumed that we're professionals and he's coming to the office. I didn't think of him as a client, like just like a referred client. And so I kind of went into questions that I assumed that he already knew. I already knew that what his happiness scale was, and we're familiar with the forms.
So in the beginning, she asked, she implied, or she talked about informed consent. She talked about HIPAA. And then her question was, and you marked number 1. So can we talk about that? And so one suggestion we had for her is to talk about what that number 1 marked is, what area is that in, so that the client has an understanding of what they're talking about.
I felt uncomfortable because I didn't have a paper in my hand, so I kind of lost track of what I was doing,
One of her positives, I think, was that she asked permission to suggest something in the middle of the interview. After she had gathered some valuable information, she asked the client for permission to make a suggestion, and I thought that was good. That's something I missed, and I think that was something Donovan missed. Donovan missed a lot of stuff, but so, just kidding. Another positive she had was she mentioned self-care. Because the client definitely is having some struggles with the relationship between his father and himself. And so I think she did a great job. I know it was at the end of the interview, but she did mention self-care.
During that, when Marty was in character, I had to use a grounding technique because when he started talking about trauma, I knew I identified with him, what he's talking about, and I went into, for a few seconds, of what intergenerational trauma felt like. And so I just assumed that that's what he was talking about. So I used the grounding technique to bring myself like, wait, now I have to listen.
And that's good. I think she caught that. One thing, missed opportunity, or something that can be worked on next time, is she used a closed-ended question and I let her out of it, and I think we've talked about this, Donovan as well. Future reference, in order to become better social workers, we're going to have to be honest as a client, honest as the interviewer. And so for future reference, if there's closed-ended questions in there, and I get sometimes we're going to have to use closed-ended questions because we're trying to keep them on track. But when she was asking the question, she said, do you feel your relationship is distant? And I should have just said no, and then let her dig from there to figure out where she was going. I can say for myself, the one thing that I struggle with is direction. Where am I going? Why am I asking this question? And I think Ellissa had that same.
I just went in and I assumed that's what he was talking about, so I try to.
And I think we can't.
Take a story there or get more information.
We have a tough time as social workers. We want to assume we know, and I do it all the time. I jump to conclusions, and I feel like because I've been down that road, I know what they're feeling. And so I think this is something that we all can work on, except for Donovan, I guess. He's stellar, perfect.
I try to mention self-care, and then had the interview been longer, I would have elaborated on what self-care looks like. And I would probably have used a stress scale at this point if he's feeling overwhelmed, versus the happiness scale.
Anything else?
No, I just need more practice, and this is fun.
Thank you, Deanna, and we look forward to our A's.
Thank you, Deanna.